So, welcome back to another episode of Building Bridges with Vanessa Donaldson. I am the Reset Coach, and with me is Janet Wiszowaty, who is the Chief Connektor, also known as CVO, Chief Visionary Officer for Worldly Connections. And we are just continuing our conversation on building bridges, building relationships, being a light, love, and support to those that might be in a struggling season coming to the end of 2022. We wanted to hop on one more call before the new year to just share some more words of wisdom with ladies that are empty nesters and, partly retired, but still deeply passionate about serving our communities. And Janet was with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Force. She's dog sitting and in Scotland right now, so you might get a little background stuff. That was a dog tour going, so we share a lot in common about that spontaneity of life and living in the now, doing things that maybe other people might say like that's weird. You're staying in someone's house and doing this and sharing whatever, but hey, it opens up a whole door of rich opportunities. But that's for another conversation. So welcome again, Janet. Thanks for joining us from a different time zone. I'm in California now with the van life. We've left Florida, renting out our house for a few months. So we're on the West Coast where it's warmer than Florida right now. And Janet is in Scotland. How's Scotland treating you?
Scotland's been great. It's certainly warmer than at home. Being a Canadian in Western Canada, where it's been in Celsius, like minus 37 below. And so we've had, I think it got as low as maybe minus 4 or 5 here. And we've had snow and it's been raining on and off for 2 days. So just about all the snow is gone, but it's green. It's beautiful. We're right wherever we walk the dog is right by the water. It's called Moray Firth, so the inlet. And we're on the Black Isle of Scotland in northern Scotland.
Living the dream, getting
You
out there,
bet.
exploring, meeting people. And that's what we're creating in our seasons of life of, not working corporate America and being chained to a desk or something. So we're doing something else. So that's more of the
Well, I
present.
really
Yeah.
think that our lifestyle as having transferred and moved to different places, I know for me, I had, when I first met my husband, I thought I'd never move again because my dad moved us all the time. And then next thing I know, he's joined the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and we're moving and changing places. But now that, and I think it prepares us to talk about bridges and stuff. It's having done it so many times, the transition to the house sitting, it's a different house, but you adapt, right?
So true,
We
so
lived in
true.
so many different houses.
Yeah, it's a great actually segue that you're in a foreign country right now and doing this because it really does set us up for this lifestyle. Our lifestyles, you with the law enforcement side, myself with the Marine Corps moving around every 2 to 4 years, we were, yeah, in a new home, new continent, usually a new language being spoken. We've had so much transition. God bless our children who we've raised and done all that, but it's made them strong, independent kids. Like, time for college, they're like, bye, we're out. I'm like, don't you want to stay close to home? And, we can be just down the road. No, they want to go do their own thing and spread their wings. So we've created that too. My mom met my dad in Paris when she left Germany, and my dad was in the army there. So yeah, it just keeps going legacy to legacy. But something about that kind of constant movement. I think the longest we were in the States was in California when my husband was at Pendleton. And then we did about 4 years there. And then the kids were just entering high school. So we didn't want to leave in the middle of high school. So we stayed another 4 years. So it turned into about a 10-year stretch. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a long time in one place. And I literally would I would call it the itch. I get this like, not physical itch, but in my mind, like I'm feeling stuck almost hyperventilating, like, is this where we're going to be forever? I need to see more of the world. So yeah, the 10-year mark, once the son left the house, the second one, the daughter was established out of college, and then just with serendipity, finding that used Sprinter van and finding renters for our California home, it just opened the doors wide open to jump into that next season of the unknown and travel. And neighbors thought we're crazy. They're like, where are you going? Well, the pandemic's coming and everybody's going on lockdown. We're not going to be chained in our house for the next year or two. You know, we want to have a sense of freedom and movement. And if we can do that in the boonies with a van and live off grid, like that's better than being chained in a house. So it would just it becomes like natural just to jump in there and explore and do different things. Like the part of the unknown is the beauty of it, right? Not quite always having a plan. You always had to have a plan in the military. Gosh, law enforcement too, right? Everything was structured. The hours, the training, the PT, the physical, everything we do was so planned and structured. There's some kind of
We have to
beauty
have
in
plan
unstructured.
A, B, C, and D, whatever. And it's rolling with the punches, right? We lived in Vancouver. The longest place when we were in the force was 8 years. But I think why we survived is we lived in 4 different houses in 8 years. And one of the houses we lived in for 4. So you can tell, like, they're just around the city, but it was, and the moves across country, right? And we for provinces, we lived in we started in Manitoba, then we moved to British Columbia, and then we moved to Ontario, and then we moved to Alberta. And Alberta's where we set up our final home. But then I got like, it's time to do something. So we weren't
It's
moving physically. So for the next 6 years, I traveled with work. And then
mm,
during that time, we had the opportunity to house it for the first time. And it was like, okay, this is the cat's meow. This is what I'm going to do. And you know what? We love to travel, and you make it work. And that's where plans come in, and not being so fixed. Like, I think so many people
mm,
live their life thinking to retirement, right? Oh, when I retire, I'm going to do this. When I retire, I'm going to do this. But we started doing this while we were both still working. We did it
mhm.
locally, or we did it, visiting friends. And I was at my cousin's in Seattle, and I said, I should stay here and find a house sitting and write my book. And she says, well, you can stay with me. And I says, no, if I stay with you, I won't get anything done. And she worked from home for an engineering company, and she was doing their newsletter and put it out there. And within a matter of days, I had a 5-week house sit in Bellingham, or in Bellevue, Washington. So that was in
Beautiful area.
2011.
Hmm.
So, it was just an introductory. And then we joined, and we didn't know there was such a thing as sites before. And it's so just for friends that we do it. And it's
Hmm.
morphed into what we do now. But so many people live their lives looking forward to retirement, and then they get to retirement and they may have physical issues, they may have other health issues, and financial issues, and so we found a way that we could really sort of amalgamate everything. So we don't have a lot of money, so how can you travel and do what you love when you do that? When we're at home, we have to buy groceries. We have to put gas in our vehicle. You have to do all that, right? And we
The
situated,
basics.
yeah,
Hmm.
basic. So when we're house sitting, we're buying groceries now. We're still paying our hydro and everything at home, but we're not paying it. We choose homes where we just are house sitting. We look after everything. We don't charge them, but we look after their home and their pet. And we've situated ourselves that we've got a tenant. We have a 1-bedroom apartment in our basement. We've got a tenant that looks after everything at home. So it's not like we have to look for a house sitter for our place.
Hmm.
So,
It's beautiful. Yeah,
yeah.
and it's so many similarities because when we're thinking of, moving around too, and when we left our home, we didn't just want to leave an empty home. I mean, when I think the mindset too is residual income and ways to keep money
Mm-hmm.
coming in somehow, even though, you're living a life of a little more um wanderlust. So, people are like, how can they just leave everything? Well, when you find a renter for your property, then that helps pay that mortgage. And,
Yeah.
and if the market's right and you can get another property or you're doing the van life, we're not eating at 5-star hotels every night. It takes a lot for us even to dine out because we're so picky now with the quality of food that we're eating and the junk that's out there that we think about a restaurant, and then by the end we're like, well, let's just go to the store and get our own stuff. And we create our own little masterpiece meals. And I've got my, hunter-gatherer husband. So our freezer is with freshly caught, fish and venison from either the ocean of Florida or when he was hunting in Ohio. And I'd much rather eat something that we
And it's
know that he
healthier.
caught. It's healthier, and there's a whole story of it from farm to table kind of thing. Like he caught that with his own hands, slayed it, whatever, filleted it and prepared it for us. And it's so much healthier. So our diet's healthier. That means, a few less pounds on, and just there's beauty and joy, and, building bridges, building relationships. I think my kids saw us cooking always together, as much as possible. And now I
Yeah.
think our daughter lives on her own, and with her guys, they cook. You see them in the kitchen. It's always a joint thing, not always, but sometimes,
Yeah.
because part of that relationship of, cooking in the kitchen together, that's bonding. That's spending quality time together. So yeah, and in a van, 24 foot, like it's really tight. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
shuffle dance, like moving around. I need to go to the
Mhm.
restroom. Everything was in a few feet. The spice drawer, one opens and then someone else can't
Well,
pass.
and
But
for
yeah.
us here, we're in a village and we haven't
Mm,
rented a car. We're in Great Britain,
nice.
so
You don't even need a
we're not.
car. Don't even need a
No, we're
car.
walking like, it's
Mm,
nothing to get 10,000, 15,000 steps in. We're walking the dog every day. We don't have pets at home anymore, but we're looking after somebody else's. Whereas if I'm at home, I'm sitting like I don't really want to go for a walk. But if you've got a dog that needs to go for a walk, you're going for a walk.
hmm.
And here, there's really no restaurants because it's a small village. But we walk down and we go to the bakery, and one of my favorite things they make. This one bakery makes the best sausage rolls. They're so good. This other bakery has like turnovers, but with chicken in it.
And
And
you're
so
walking 10,000 steps, so you're allowed to go have a little extra something.
healthier because they don't have extra ingredients. They're not processed. They're baked right there in their
Mm,
bakery. Like these are small. There's 3 bakeries in town, and they're just small bakeries, and they're not sit-in or anything. And
hmm.
there's one fish and chip store. We've had fish and chips once from here,
Yeah.
and but otherwise there's really no, unless we go into Inverness. But we've got all our groceries. We can carry them up on their backpack to go for a walk. If we need milk or something, we just go and put it in our backpack, and we don't need a lot. And just before Christmas, we just got some extras and that. So we don't have to, we leave here on probably the 9th or 10th of January. And except for bread and milk, we got everything we need until we leave.
Hmm. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's something to be said. It's like almost living minimalist. You still have the home and stuff
Yeah.
and then the van too, but you don't need much. First of all, you really
Yeah.
just need love. That's the foundation. If you've got love in your life, you're golden. And then the relationship with your spouse, you've got each other. And
Yeah.
and then everything else is like, a little extra, the basics, like you said. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in the van too, we have the basics, what fits in. It's almost like a dorm size fridge. And that's all we need at
Yeah.
a
Well,
time.
that's what over here. I know even my cousins and that you got like a bar size fridge and a bar
Mm-hmm.
size freezer. That's all you got. It's meant this lifestyle is you go get your stuff fresh every couple days. Like it's not like I do at home where I do a $200-300 grocery list and pantry full and stuff. I like this, and then you don't have to think. Like I made soup the other day, and I had all my ingredients. I'm using leftovers, and it lasts you.
Mm-hmm.
If it's chilly, you've got something to eat. But it's sorry, my arm. The dog is after me. She keeps wanting me to throw something
It's
for
a
her.
very, possessive dog who's like, wait, I don't like that other voice on the end. This woman is all mine. Who's talking through the computer there? So yeah, you heard my brother before we got on, like, Costco run, anything, and it's like, oh, the
Yeah.
thought of big grocery stores, and like, no, please don't bring me the processed food in the home.
Mhm.
Like, I've got fruits and veggies in the fridge here, and that's what I'll eat when I have a snack during the day. So yeah, the minimalist life. My mom lives in Germany in a little town in Bavaria. I guess you call it a village too, in Bavaria.
Mhm.
And she has a little dorm size fridge and her little bicycle. She's 83 now, little bicycle with her little fuzzy furry seat. So it's really comfortable when you sit on it. And she takes that thing and takes it around town. Not right now, probably on ice in the winter, but in the
Yeah.
spring and the summer. and puts things in her basket for what she's going to make for that day.
Yeah.
She carries her
Yeah.
recycling bottles to special spots and they don't get any kind of, reimbursement back. She's got everything. It's just the
Yeah.
culture. That's the way
It
it
is.
is.
And things aren't like, you go, when we go into Inverness, there's Marks and Spencer over here in the UK, and they really cater to smaller meals. Like, they have packaged, like you can get, I know one, Marks and Spencer one time, you could pick 3 different, things for your meal, and you got a bottle of wine and you got something, but there's really no leftovers. You just got your meal, you pick it up and take it, and it's not fast food. It's stuff that you cook. Like we got in here, I was looking for a ham for Christmas for us, just a small ham. I couldn't find a ham anywhere. Do you know what it's called here? Gammon. AMMON. That's a ham.
That's a
I
ham.
didn't know that.
And did you
That's
go
a ham.
asking around? Did you ask in the store, like, do you have ham? And they say, no, we don't. Or how did you find it?
Well, I was looking. I didn't ask. I saw them all around it, but then we were in Marks and Spencer, and they had all stuff there for Christmas. And then in the small lettering, it's got ham. There's our ham. It's a gammon. but
Yeah.
it was, and they have, you can buy it as a package with if you want to put a glaze on or anything. We just got an ordinary one. We cooked it, and then we've got sandwiches and stuff too. But we didn't, because there's just the 2 of us. We don't need huge amount. And something else they have, it's so funny, when especially colleges and universities, they have vending machines where you can get sandwiches and stuff. Okay, or hospitals, sometimes they have that, right?
Sandwiches.
There is a place called the Egg Box, little building that has vending machine for fresh eggs and potatoes.
Oh
and
my
you put your
gosh.
card in and you press the button, and the door opens and you take your eggs out, you take your potatoes out. It's cool.
And why just eggs and potatoes? That's just what fits in that vending
From a
machine?
local farmer, I guess.
Okay, it's from a
And
farmer.
it's,
Okay.
yeah,
That's so cool.
it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in front
Yeah.
of a farm. Like
Yeah.
you need a vehicle to get to it. You can't take a bus or walk to it.
And do you put your credit card in the machine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can put coin in. Yeah.
If you have local currency. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that reminds me of van lifing through the state of Vermont. I didn't want to leave just because of the farms. Everywhere, every corner seemed to have a farm around it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so cool. Like sometimes we didn't even see the people, but they all had their little farm stands that was just
Yeah.
honor system. And we would pull up with the van. Oh, we're running out of eggs, usually the eggs. I think they had milk too, anything like the basics, cheese, all the dairy stuff. And we'd pull up, there'd be no one there. There'd be a little tethered like composition notebook like our kids used to go to school with years ago with a half working pen. You might have to run to the car and get your own pen.
Yeah.
And it tells you to just, add the item number
Yeah.
and how many, and it had little tags on stuff for how much everything costs. And you put that was cash only. They didn't have the vending machine with a swipe your card thing. And you just put that money in a little like tin jar. Someone could run off
Yeah.
with it, but honor system, I just love the simplicity of it. And we would just leave
Totally.
with supporting local, love doing that,
I love that
and
too.
fresh from the farm to table. So those are the things that, yeah, when you don't live, I would say the normal lifestyle of just, living in we are one home and you're not exposed to different environments.
Yeah.
You don't think as much out of the box, but when you do,
Yeah.
it seeps into all areas of our life, right? So just from our
Yeah.
professions and moving around with our spouses and that lifestyle has seeped
Yeah.
into how we travel, how we look to where we buy food, how we, view what we're eating and where it came from. Like it seeps into all areas of our life to hopefully help us be, living the best versions of ourselves, right? In the end, like
Yeah.
we want to be evolving into a better version of
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, a better version for our spouses, for our kids, our grandkids, children, family, and the people in the community, strangers that you're meeting now. Like you were just having tea with a neighbor before, we met.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And they've been great because they've got a vehicle, so they've just drove us around. So on the 2 days before Christmas, she was going to the farmers market and some other places, and it was her that took us to the egg box.
the egg
So we
box.
got fresh, yeah, fresh veg. I'll send you a picture. Sent, she took us to this farm that had the fresh vegetables. So we had fresh vegetables right from the farm again. And I can tell you the carrots and the uh, uh, I got Brussels sprouts and that they just tasted. There's so much more flavor.
Yeah.
So,
Because there's no soil, maybe there still might be soil depletion. I mean, I'm also a Melaleuca rep, so I'm all into healthy eating. And the soil has just gotten so bad over generation after generation. Like the quality of the soil is just not where it used to be, for our
mhm.
ancestors. So when you find good product, good quality food, even like when you crack that egg open, when we cracked that egg open from the farm and we looked and it just looked thicker and yellow. It just looked different than the one that you get
Yeah,
at the local store. And I'm
yeah.
like, wow, there's a difference here. So yeah,
Hmm.
my husband just stumbled upon a little Amish farm in the middle of Florida. They're connected to Pennsylvania, which, has a huge Amish
Yeah,
name. So the name, the family brand name, it was all the same. But oh yeah, he made a U-turn there. He's like, okay, local play. We turned that big bus around
yeah,
and we went in
yeah,
there and we left with the biggest heads of lettuce and everything was, wonderful. It was like an outing, I think, over Thanksgiving. We brought our daughter and her boyfriend there because they're really into supporting local, eating
yeah.
healthy. So we drove, out of our way, but that's what you have to do if it's not around your corner sometimes. And it was nice to contribute to that and just the quality of food. The salad lasted so much longer than other stuff we get at the
Oh
store.
yeah. When
Things
you
last
buy
longer.
fresher like that, it doesn't. Like even I forget what I had, and I thought, oh, fresh fruit. Like I got strawberry or raspberries and blueberries, but they don't come from afar. Like in Canada, we get ours from like California. And you think of when they're picked and the truck drive, and by the time that they go through the grocery store and that. So the timing here is less too on the continent, in Europe, right? The
Hmm.
distances aren't as far and stuff. And I got oranges. The oranges came from Spain, and they're just so flavorful. But where we are, we're in the Black Isle, so it's like an ecosystem like Vancouver Island, uh, Rainier, but it's so green and there's lots of farmland here, but it's on a
Hmm.
peninsula. But we're like northern tip of the UK. Uh, Inverness is considered the city, the end of the city, sort of in northern Scotland. But it's only
Hmm.
got like 500,000 people. But it's a city because it's the next biggest and the furthest north
Hmm.
in here. So, but so really, it's not hugely populated here. So when you get farm stuff, it's not overly uh, farmed like it does in some of our
Hmm.
southern places, right?
Right. And again, it brings back to being flexible. When we lived even in Africa, I was in the Peace Corps in Africa. We've had assignments with the military in Africa. You adapt to the local markets, which I love going to the
Yeah.
open markets, but even to the grocery stores, everything smells different to your usual
Mm-hmm.
smell. Boxes look different, the brandings is different. You try to cook like a US recipe and it's like you have to alter some ingredients because you don't have it all. So being flexible to try, even local meals. When we lived in Tunisia or where were we? Brazil when I was a kid, my mom learned to make the popular bean and rice dish called feijoada. So I grew up with that with sausage in there. And when she comes to visit, like all we want to do is eat all those meals she learned from living overseas. We don't want to eat the McDonald's or the regular US stuff. So we lived in North Africa and she learned to make peanut butter chicken, which, when I first got married,
Oh,
I tried to make it for my husband.
I love
Oh,
that peanut sauce.
I had to reach out to my mom. You know how when you think you could cook on your own and it's like, why didn't I pick up the phone and call mom? Because here I am trying to make my peanut butter African recipe dish with chicken and rice. And I thought I got it going. I took that peanut butter, just tried to, melt it in a pan and smeared that chicken around. My poor husband, newlywed or whatever, he's just like, interesting. Oh, interesting. I'm like, it's peanut butter chicken.
I like how they say that. It's interesting.
Interesting. And then I think after the fact, I called my mom. I said, I think I didn't do that recipe right. And she's like, oh my gosh, no, you're supposed to take, crushed tomato and mix the peanut butter in a blender first and garlic. And she had all these other elements. But now we got it down. So we know how to make peanut butter chicken too. So yeah, you learn these dishes from living overseas and, getting into the culture. And that's just all part of the beauty of the lives we've created and been blessed to be a part of. I mean, I don't want it to sound like, we're bragging and we have all this great stuff. Like there's definitely hardship in that too. There's a sense of loneliness when you're away from your, culture for a while. There's a sense when our spouses are separated from us. So there are definitely seasons of loneliness and some struggles and challenges. But again, we don't focus on that,
Part
right?
of that, part of that, when we were doing it, we didn't have things like this. You and I couldn't have spoken from Scotland to California like this. We would have had to pay a fortune in a long distance call. There'd be no video, and writing letters. Like when my husband was in training, we wrote letters. Like it cost a lot of money to make a long distance phone call. There were no cell phones, so
Oh my
appreciate what
God.
you have. And we're all, the thing is adapting, right? And building that bridge. Even when you were talking about recipes, like we were looking for cornstarch here because I don't like to use flour to thicken my soups and stuff. I use cornstarch. And but what she gave us in the store is corn flour. So I think their cornstarch and corn flour are what that they think. But we have different names for different things, and you just have to adjust and experiment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. If it doesn't work, you try something else. It's not the end of the world.
we stick it up and we eat it because we don't want to throw it out and waste it, right? So we make do, or we add a few more spices or something. And I do
Yeah.
carry some of my own favorite spices with me when we travel home.
It is fun in the van. We can still carry our spices. And it's funny how many times we end up at people's homes if we're passing through. And they're like, oh, I'm out of garlic salt. I'm out of garlic powder,
Yeah,
like
just a
whatever.
minute.
Yeah, we usually say, hold on, I think we have it in the van. So it's amazing the stuff you put in the van and how it comes in handy when you're visiting other people. It's like, no, we don't need to run to the store. It's in the van. We'll get to it.
Well, and
So,
sometimes we're introduced to something. Like I used something where we were house sitting, and I really liked it, and it was garlic and herb or something. And I said, "Oh, I've got to buy some of this because this is really good." And it worked out good because I usually use Mrs. Dash, and I forgot to throw Mrs. Dash in my kit, but I had this garlic and herb, and boy, Les says this soup is really good. And this is a soup I make all the time, right? So I just used some different stuff. So but yeah, our lives and what I we would like people to know here is that it doesn't have to be boring, and it doesn't have to be a routine thing. You can experiment. And as far as house sitting goes, start in your local area. Like you don't have to go far. Like me, we started a long time ago, 2011, but now we travel all over the world house sitting.
it's a great
So
tip. Just start local, like anything,
yeah,
any
I
kind
have
of
to plug in.
plug-in, any kind of even coaching. Like you start with small steps. You don't have to compare to what someone else is doing, and you don't have to try to leap forward 10 years. Just start with where you're at right now and take that small step. So yeah, if it's something you're interested in doing, definitely you can get in touch with us offline and we can give you all the nuggets on that. Well, we won't reveal
Oh,
all our secrets on camera, but you can reach out to us and we can talk about all kinds of ways to be resourceful to, living on a budget, right? And exploring your community, the world,
mhm.
however far you want to go, and just creating your lifestyle.
And send questions, right? Between the two of us and our different countries that we live in and the different experiences we've had, if we don't know the answer, boy, we'll find it. We know somebody who does.
So true. So yeah, we will wrap up this season because it's the end of 2022. I hear little minions in the background. The nieces are coming back from activities, and you got a little pet to take care of. So thank you for joining me, Janet, for one more round of building bridges. And if people want to reach you, what's the best way to connect with you?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn. If they're not on LinkedIn, I am on Facebook. Just send me a message, a direct message. I'm on WhatsApp too, so just Google my name and you'll find me.
Yep, and I think I put our contact stuff in the YouTube
I think you
description
did
as
too.
well. So you can always check there. And I am Vanessa Donaldson, the reset coach. I'm getting ready to reset for another year, reset for 2022. There's been a lot of changes the last couple of years with the pandemic, but we are on a rise now. The world is opening up, and we're just so excited to all of the adventure that's out there for us. And to reach me, if you're online and you see my QR code, you can click that. That'll take you to my website. And then I've also got my phone number on here, and my email is info@resetwithvanessa.com. So thank you so much, Janet, and I will be speaking with you in the new year. Have a blessed New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and we will connect online from whatever part of the world we're in. As long as we have
That's for
internet,
sure.
right? It's the one thing we need.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank you
Vanessa. This has been
all.
great.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.